It was supposed to be a simple favor. A young woman, just 18, trying to do the right thing, trying to help out her aunt and uncle. But what started as a good deed spiraled into a nightmare of expectations, broken promises, and harsh consequences. It was her shift at the fast food restaurant, a place she worked part-time while juggling responsibilities at home. Her aunt and uncle, newlyweds, were heading off on their honeymoon, and they needed someone to look after their son, Kason, for the week. It was a lot to ask, but she agreed. She'd do the right thing, take the job, and be there for her family. But, as it often happens, life had other plans. She made arrangements with her job, taking the necessary days off to care for Kason. The company agreed, and everything seemed fine. Until one day, the schedule changed. One of her co-workers, Julia, agreed to cover her Thursday shift. It wasn't the worst situation, but she still needed time off to focus on her cousin. Then, the phone rang. It was her boss, Kathy, calling to say that Julia was out sick. The message was clear. Either get the shift covered or come in. Kathy didn't care about the arrangements that had been made. It wasn't Julia's fault, but it was now the young woman's responsibility. Her stomach sank as she thought about Kason. Who would look after him now? Her parents were unavailable, her sister out of town. She needed a solution, and fast. She reached out to her co-workers, hoping for a miracle. One by one, they either ignored her or outright refused. Desperate, she texted Kathy, explaining the situation. But Kathy wasn't sympathetic. The message came back harsh and dismissive. "You didn't get the shift approved," Kathy said. "You're coming in, or you're getting written up." The young woman felt a lump rise in her throat. She was trapped. She couldn't leave Kason alone, but what choice did she have? She could lose her job, lose the respect of her family, or worse, she could face the wrath of her manager. The assistant manager, Jeremiah, stepped in. He told her what seemed like the only option: bring the kid to work. Let him sit in the booth, stay out of the way, and keep him entertained. At least the child wouldn't be alone. So, that's what she did. She gathered Kason's things: a laptop, some juice boxes, a few snacks, and headed into work. The entire day felt surreal. Kason, who was only 5, was parked in a booth for hours, watching movies and sipping juice, while she worked her shift. The restaurant wasn't busy, and she kept an eye on him, making sure he had everything he needed. 6 hours in, she was starting to feel a little relieved. Everything was going smoothly. Too smoothly. She had managed to handle the impossible situation without anything going wrong. But then, Kathy walked in. Her face, a mixture of disbelief and anger, was enough to freeze the blood in her veins. "Why is he here?" Kathy demanded. The young woman's heart raced. She did exactly what she was told. Jeremiah had said it was okay, but Kathy's tone left no room for explanation. She told her she had to go home, that what she was doing was a major liability for the company. She could lose her job. Her mind reeled. How could this happen? She had done everything right, everything she was asked to do, but nothing seemed to matter anymore. The shift had been covered, the kid was safe, but it was still her fault. Kathy's eyes were cold as she dismissed her. When she got home, she was crushed. She collapsed into the couch, tears spilling down her face. Her mom, who had been in the loop about the situation, couldn't understand why she had taken Kason to work. She was upset, but it wasn't just that. Her mom, in her anger and confusion, had called the aunt. And now, the honeymoon was ruined. Her aunt, who had trusted her to look after Kason, was furious. She said, "I can't believe I let a little girl be in charge, and now my honeymoon is ruined." Her words stung like salt in an open wound. The young woman had tried so hard to make everything work, to please everyone. She tried to cover for Julia, to respect her family's wishes, to not disappoint her bosses. But no matter what she did, it seemed to only make things worse. And now, everything had fallen apart. She was stuck in the middle of a web of blame, guilt, and impossible expectations. Her job could be on the line, her family was angry, and she was left wondering where it all went wrong. She had followed the rules, taken the vacation days, found a replacement, and even got her manager's approval. But in the end, none of that mattered. She was the one left holding the bag. So, am I the asshole? Her story doesn't just live in the abstract. It's something we all can relate to. Everyone's had moments where they've tried to do everything right, only to be dragged down by forces beyond their control. The pressure to live up to expectations, the fear of letting people down, the weight of responsibility at a young age. It's a reality that so many of us face, often without the experience or wisdom to navigate it. But what if this story is about more than just a 5-year-old at work? What if it's about how society, especially in American culture, places the burden of responsibility on the young and inexperienced, without giving them the support or tools they need to handle it? What if it's about learning the hard way that not every situation can be fixed by simply following instructions? Sometimes, doing the right thing means saying no, even when it feels impossible. It means standing up for yourself, even when everyone around you seems to be in conflict. It means acknowledging your own limits and respecting your own boundaries. And yet, there's no easy answer. What would you do in that position? Would you have brought the child to work, trusting that the guidance of your managers was enough? Or would you have taken the unexcused absence, risking your job, but keeping the promise you made to your family? This young woman did what she thought was best. She did her best. And in the end, that was all she could do. But sometimes, doing your best isn't enough. Sometimes, the world doesn't reward effort, but punishes you for it. In the raw aftermath of this decision, she learned a hard lesson about the limits of personal responsibility, about the expectations placed on young people, and about the difficult balance between doing what's right and doing what's expected. Now the question remains, was she the asshole for bringing a child into work? Or was the fault truly in the hands of those who put her in that impossible position? Reflect on this. When was the last time you felt forced to make an impossible choice? How did you handle it? Were you supported, or did you feel alone, left to carry the burden of expectations you never agreed to? And most importantly, do you think you could have said no? The world doesn't always make things easy, but maybe, just maybe, it's time for all of us to start learning how to say no when the weight of responsibility becomes too much.